I turn on a camera and the whole town decides to drive by. What is wrong with this picture? I don't know. Hey, how you doing? Look, here's the deal. I don't think it was a good idea to change my video days because I keep missing. I almost did last night instead of today, and then I was like, oh wait a minute, no, I said Tuesday and Friday, not Monday and Thursday. And I did it because of the podcast and changing those days, and all I've done is mess everything up. And then trying to get ahead on daylight savings so it wouldn't kill me. Yeah, that was a failure. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm so dead. But I do have books that I finished at the end of February, and I want to just just talk them out so I can get them out of my head and move along, right? So, but before that, right now, I'm working on a few books. One of the things I didn't mention in my, TBR video was this one. I'm doing From Death to Life. I bought 2 different Lenten devotionals from the Daily Grace Company, and I couldn't decide which one. This is 2024's, I think. Couldn't decide which one. And so what did I do? I literally set them on the stool with my eyes closed and shuffled and separated them and spun around and did the whole thing and then chose, and this is the one that came up. So I'm doing this one, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm making myself actually write in it because I realized that if it got dry, the fact that I'd already started writing in it would make me finish anyway, because sometimes there are certain things that for some reason they just don't resonate with you right now. And so when you're working through a workbook and you're doing it in something separate, it's easy to set the whole thing aside instead of saying, I'm just going to read these dry parts until I get back to something that's really meaty, because sometimes those dry parts are what you need and you don't know it until months later. So I'm actually making myself write in it. It's I got it on as seconds. I can't see why it's a second, but I got it as part of their second sale, and didn't pay very much for it. I want to say I paid $7, but I think it was 12. Didn't pay very much for it, so it's worth it. And I'm doing that also as part of my reading. Doing the I should show you because it's really funny. So last night I'm writing Psalm 23. Because that's the one I'm supposed to be working on right now, right? Oh, I can't show you. Well, maybe I can insert a picture. I've already glued the page over. But on Psalm 25, I start writing and I get to verse 6. And then there are 4 more verses. And I'm like, but there's only 6 verses. I turned the page to make sure that I wasn't missing something in. Like, do you not remember your Bible or what? So I'm not kidding. It was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. But yeah, so I wrote Psalm 23 twice last night. But for Psalm 23 in Sheltering Mercy, it's just so, where's my glasses? Oh, there they are. The dogs are having a heyday. Something going on out there. But Psalm 23, I'm going to see if I can show you. Look, somebody was definitely inspired by C.S. Lewis. Further up and further in. So in this one it says, I'm going to read the whole thing. It's short. Yeah, why not? It says, Christ, in your presence I lack no good thing. You are the shepherd of my soul, guiding me to places of rest, far from the noise and clamor, a meadow of the heart, tall grass against an azure sky, cooling waters at my side. Lead me, Lord, further up and further in. When death looms like a specter over me, and I wander in a godless land, speak comfort to me. May your spirit be the light on my path, the crook of your staff. Guide me to safety. With mercy, you lead me to your table, a feast of rich food and aged wine in your presence, my head and host. You delight in honoring me, that all who see and would know I am the beloved of God. My head is blessed with oil, my joy overflowing. Your grace chases me. Your kindness pursues me. How can I outrun you? In your house are many rooms. In your presence I find rest. I was like, I just love that further up and further in. Yeah. So I am really enjoying this. I'm going to start this one tonight. Oh, I think my order is here. I'll go see. I'm going to start this one tonight, Moon Garden. I took a peek at it and started to cry. It's first person present. Yay. Hip hip hooray. Not looking forward to that. I am looking forward to the story, but... And then, can we talk about Precious Bane for a minute? So I'm trying to work through this thing, and I'm almost at halfway, and I am so bored. I don't understand the point of this book. So Precious she has a cleft lip, and so she's in the Shropshire area where she lives. She's considered to be kind of cursed. This is, back in I think it's the mid-1900s. Her brother is ambitious and wants to become rich and powerful, and he is working hard for it. She is working to help him. And that's the story. He's got a girlfriend he's interested in. This is all from her perspective. So if you wanted a romance, you're really not going to get it, because it's, it's just what she thinks of this girlfriend thing. And it's not like there's a whole lot of time spent on that, because again, it's from her perspective. But I can't see where this is going. And right now, I don't care. There's just nothing about this that is making me want to keep going. But is there a reason I should? Does anyone know if I should keep going? Because I don't want to just give up on a book because it's boring right now. I'm willing to deal with boring if there's going to be a payoff. But if this is just one of those bucolic slice of life things that means nothing to anyone except for people who maybe live there and you can't grasp it. It's not pastoral, although it's bordering on it. But even pastoral novels have something to them, right? This just, I think the point is for you to know what it was like to live there at that time. And to make it interesting, she made the character be someone that people consider cursed. I can't figure it out. So, I don't know. Maybe I should read reviews. Maybe I should read Wikipedia and see if they have more about it, so I know the whole plot and I'll know if I should figure it. But if someone knows, please tell me. Do I keep reading that thing? Because, yeah, not totally thrilled. Am loving Salvation to the Ends of the Earth. It starts in Genesis, and it shows the concept of missions in the entire Bible. Right now I'm about to start Mark, and I'm about a quarter of the way through it. So I'm about to start Mark. Things are going to get a whole lot deeper here. But, yeah. Yeah. So there's that. Whoa! It just wanted to slide right off of there. Okay, so with that, I think I'm just going to go in order of how I read them. So the next, I only have a few more books that I read in February. So I read 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. This one takes place in France. She is there. Had to make sure I got the right one, because I read 2 that took place in France. Both of them were dealing with similar-ish kinds of things. And so I didn't want to get them mixed up. Okay, so 9 Coaches Waiting. So in this one, we have Linda, who is a governess from England. She was born and raised in France to a British father and a French mother. So she is very, very, very French. She has excellent French accents and culture and everything. But she also has a great British accent and knows all the British things. And so while she was in England, this woman is looking for a British governess for her little, I think it's nephew. And so she goes to apply for the job, and she figures out right away that this gal doesn't want someone who knows French. She wants to immerse this boy in English. So she hides the fact that she knows French. And now she goes to the chateau. Well, things aren't right at the chateau. And things get really complicated. This is Mary Stewart and all her, they consider her the mother of romantic suspense. Well, it's got it all. There's, it's almost got Gothic vibes, because you've got the guy who's like, so this little boy, I can't remember his name, but he's the heir to this property. Then you've got the uncle who is like a guardian. There are 2 uncles that are co-guardians, and the one is there and the other one's gone right now. The one that is there had an injury in an automobile accident, so he is confined to a wheelchair. He is, a bit intense and in some ways bitter, other ways not. His wife she's really tolerant of his issues, and I found that unusual. I thought that was kind of neat in a weird way, But then you've got this household staff, and you've got this little boy who wants to avoid this uncle because the uncle clearly doesn't like him, and yet pretends to but doesn't at the same time. I'm telling you, it's really kind of strange. And then things start happening, and it appears that someone is trying to kill this little boy. Who's trying to do it and why? At the same time this all starts, this couple's son comes home. And this couple's son is the, classic tall, dark, handsome rake sort. And so is he safe? Is he not safe? Is he good? Is he not good? And at the same time, she meets someone in town who is, what is he doing there? It has something to do with the trees. So is he a botanist? I don't know. He has something to do with the trees. And so he's staying on the land nearby. The dog is driving me nuts. and they're becoming friends. But who can she trust? When everything starts going down, she doesn't know who she can trust. She doesn't know what's going on. And everything goes from there. I can't really say much more except that this book would have been 5 stars for me all the way. But the end totally knocked a star off for me. It was so ridiculous. It was so... she's young, okay? She really is young. And that is part of it. You see her immaturity in her choices. And they ticked me off. She makes a huge, in my opinion, and I'll stand by that opinion, terrible mistake. I absolutely disagree with her choices. Here they go. While they howl, I'll go get that box. Well, it wasn't the box that I hoped for, but it is a good box. We're getting rid of our dish because I haven't used it at all in the last year, at least. So we're like, okay, why are we spending $150 a month on something that we're not using? I don't know. Anyway, so... But at the end, she makes a choice that is a really stupid choice. Yes, it is. I know, I can do that too. And that just did take away some of the fun for me. The water bowl will ding once the temperature changes just enough. Freaks Noel out every time. I love it. I love it. Okay, so that was 9 Coaches Waiting. Next up was How to Pray by C.S. Lewis. And I really loved this little book. I also got Letters to Malcolm, Chiefly on Prayer by C.S. Lewis, but I did not get through that one. I'm looking forward to reading that one. This one is fictional nonfiction because these letters are not real letters to a real person, but they were, letters that he wrote as if to a real person speaking about prayer. So it's a nonfiction topic written in a fictional way. It's an epistolary nonfiction. How many times can you say that? So this one, Reflections and Essays, as you can see, I tabbed it quite a bit. This is the one that just really grabbed me, and I made I've still got my other ones from the other day. I wanted to mention, it says, the most valuable thing the Psalms do for me is to express that same delight in God which made David dance. Just like, oh, it was so perfect, with us doing Psalms right now, but it was just, so good. One cannot establish the efficacy of prayer by statistics. It remains a matter of faith and of God's personal action. This one was so good. And perhaps, as those who do not turn to God in petty trials will have no habit or such resort to help them when great trials come, so those who have not learned to ask him for childish things will have less readiness to ask him for great ones. We must not be too high-minded. I fancy we may sometimes be deterred from small prayers by a sense of our own dignity rather than of God's. He was just so good at just putting things in their place and saying all the things and doing all the things. So I love Lewis. I don't agree with him on everything, but I really do love Lewis. All right, so in Madam, Will You Talk? We have Charity, who is a widow and is in France with her friend. And as she's in France, she comes across this little boy. I don't know, what is he? Somewhere between 9 and 12, I think. I think he's 12. But she comes across this kid and just kind of enjoys getting to know him. And then all the things start happening. We know that the boy is with his stepmother. We know that his father was accused of a crime, and that they're kind of keeping the boy away from the father because supposedly the father tried to kill the son. This is all information that might even be in the synopsis. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Much of it is anyway. And then it's all about what really happens and what's really going on. It's kind of obvious to me what's really going on and all the stuff that's happening and everything. But there was a lot to commend this book. So, I mean, there's like crazy, like almost unbelievable, but it was so much fun that you didn't care. Like rides to the French countryside trying to get away from someone, and all the crazy things that happen, and just the way that she's doing everything she can to protect this boy, and all the things that are going on there. That is all fabulous. There were a few little things that I had a problem with. It was really more of like 3.25 to 3.5 stars, but seriously, her relationship with David was so cool that I was willing to just bump it up to 4. But how the person pursuing her manages to find her no matter where she goes and what she does is a bit ridiculous. I'm just going to say. I'm like, really? Really? And then, again, like in the last one, I'm seeing a theme here, though. She is willing to forgive and ignore some very suspect and, frankly, not acceptable behavior. What? Because someone is devastatingly handsome? I don't care, And so I'm starting to see a theme. I've seen it with a couple since then. It's amazing what Stewart's heroines will put up with when there's an attractive man involved. And I'm like, I don't know. But I'm loving the books anyway. So it's an unusual thing for me to be willing to read a book that I know I'll probably only give 3 or 4 stars, just because I'm enjoying the process of reading the book, aside from the areas that I know I'm going to have trouble with. So again, you know, this one is barely, it's really not a 4-star. I gave it 4 because I just love what she did with David so much. That boy is a neat kid, a great character, and really just added so much to the story. But really, it's more like 3 1/4, 3.5 stars. It's just, yeah, not her better one. There have been a couple I've enjoyed more since then. But still, I'm not sorry I read it, really loved it. I might even reread some of these ones that I'm just not giving the greatest, ratings to. I'm still probably going to reread them because I enjoyed the process. So there's that. And let's see, what else did I have? Okay, so next up we had Thorofare by Christopher Morley, which I buddy read with Ashley. Had a blast reading this with Ashley. Totally recommend buddy reads with Ashley. Just putting that out there. But in this one, basically, it's kind of, you can kind of see it, how there's like kind of this divide between these two places, and so Jeffrey is really our main protagonist, even though you would think it'd be like his Uncle Dan. It's really not. So Jeffrey starts off in England, in this little town, lives on the Thorofare, and everything is grand. And then Uncle Dan comes home from America, where he has become a citizen, and is going to take Jeffrey back to America with him. And then it's all about Jeffrey learning the differences between English life and American life, and learning to just kind of come into his own, because in England he lived on the anthill with a bunch of ants, and no men in his life really, in his daily life. There are men in the village that I'm sure had impacts on him, but he's getting a very feminized upbringing until, not feminist, feminized, until Uncle Dan comes and takes him off to America. And then in America, he learns the differences between the places, and he, gets to spend time with boys his own age, and the good and the bad that comes from it. He gets to understand the different cultures in America. Lots of good stuff in there. But this would have been a 5-star read for me, except that there are places it's really disjointed. More flight tests. So first off, we're in like chapter 5, 6, something like that, before we have any clue how old Jeffrey is. Jeffrey is 8 when they leave for America on the ship. They spend a lot of time on the ship on the way over, and but like there are lots of little things like that we just, it's like it's assumed we'll know. And I don't mind if books do that, as long as I get caught up somehow. I don't appreciate it when books treat me like I'm an idiot and can't figure things out that are pretty obvious. I remember there was one book where one of my editors was like, my character gets out of the truck and he's talking over the top of the truck to someone who's standing on the step, and the truck is parked right in front of the step, right? And so we know this, and he's talking over it, and then there's a response, and then they're walking up the steps. Well, clearly the guy got walked around and went up the steps. I don't have to tell you that. I don't do the and then he walked to the kitchen sink kind of writing, and I don't like reading it. But things like how old someone is, or so in here, Aunt B, and that's B-E-E instead of B-E-A, which I thought was interesting. But Aunt B is preparing this emergency bag for the voyage. Nowhere does it say that I can find that she was actually going on the voyage. She's just preparing this emergency bag. And I thought she was doing it for Dan, because, if you've got a young man who is taking a boy across the ocean, you're going to want him to have bandages and, you know, something to keep the kid occupied. You're going to want him to have this stuff, right? Yeah, no, she was doing it for herself, for to be able to do these same things. But she was going, and I had no clue that she was going. There are quite a few things like that. Like near the end, all of a sudden he goes from, you know, little boy to like 14 to like out of high school and ready for college or in college. I mean, it's just like boom, 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 boom. And there's no transition. And those are what gave it 4 stars for me. Otherwise, this would have been a total 5-star book. I suspect that a couple of things may have happened. I think chapters were removed and they weren't careful to do a new bridge. You know, like there's too much we got to cut, especially since like the back of mine reminds you to buy war bonds. So this was published during the war. And I think they were trying to be careful with paper. And so they pulled out chapters. This is my theory. Because there are other places where the transition is really obvious and yet very minute, but they make it clearly obvious too. So I suspect that is the thing. But yeah, really annoying. But there is so much to recommend it in here. So on the trip over, what did it happen before then? I don't think so. I think it happened on the trip over. Jeff and his buddy start building this map. And I don't remember what the buddy called his, but he called his Jeffland. And everything, everything they learned about, it got put on there. And then when he gets to his new home in America, they make it even bigger. And his friends have their own thing. And it's like, it's how he processes life through this map. And like at the very end of the book, you go into the room and you get to see all the things that he learned through Jeffland, because we get to see it now through Dr. Dan's eyes and what this was happening in here. And it was just, it was so cool. There are a lot of great lessons in here that are shown rather than told. Like the language that this kid starts to use and that we start seeing from other people. We go through most of the book and there's almost nothing, and then all of a sudden there's a few words, and then there's a few more words, and it's not atrocious, it's not heavy or anything, but compared to none, it's there. And it's really clear that it's, without saying a word, it's clear that it's like, hey, who you hang out with is who you become. So be careful who you hang out with. It's very obvious. This is, Jeff doesn't speak this way away from those people. And so there's just this really, loved it so much. And then if books showing racial disparity and wrong attitudes, and not even attitudes as much, because it is and it isn't at the same time. So in here we've got a man who was a Southern military man of some sort. He still has his servant from before the war, and that servant is very loyal and very loving. They have a great relationship. He uses racial slurs, the man, and he uses them casually without meaning to be insulting. But the fact that this was a thing and it is shown bothers you, then it's in there and you may want to avoid it. But I thought it's one of those things that I don't like to see that kind of stuff cleaned up. I want to remember where we've come from, because those are the kind of things that I don't appreciate today. But I do appreciate seeing that we were here and this is what happened, and we have grown and learned to be over here in a more respectful way. Even if you didn't mean to be disrespectful here, it either was and you were ignorant, or it became disrespectful over time, and now we need to show the respect. And so either way, depending on the circumstance and depending on what we're talking about, I'm talking about in general, not just this book, I think it's a good thing. So I personally didn't have a problem with it being in here. I would have had a problem if it was done the same way in a contemporary novel. So for what it's worth, absolutely wonderful book. I really did love it. Do I prefer Parnassus on Wheels? Probably, but it's a bookish book. I mean, you know, and then like even The Haunted Bookshop, again, that thing is so quotable. But I don't really think you can compare them. It's more like trying to compare Anne of Green Gables to Agatha Christie. They're just not quite the same. It's not the same audience, the same anything. So, for what it's worth, I really love Thorofare, and if books like that interest you, I think you'd enjoy it. Okay, finally, I read The Ivy Tree by Mary Stewart, another Mary Stewart, and I think I've got a couple more. But The Ivy Tree, I gave 3 stars, which is sad. It should have been a 4 or 5 star because there was a lot to recommend it. It has really strong gothic-y kind of vibes. And it has amazing descriptions. Mary Stewart knows how to do description in a way that you get totally immersed in the world without being drowned in the words. Beautifully done. Absolutely beautifully done. We are in northern England, and I think we're up fairly close to the Windermere area, I think. And I don't remember why. There was something very familiar with something. I can't remember now. Anyway, but in this one, way back, like 7 years ago, the granddaughter of this man who owns this farm left home, disappeared. They have assumed that she is dead for the last however many years. I don't know. I don't remember how many after she left did they decide she had died, but she's supposed to be dead. And now someone is visiting and, you know, just wandering around, heard that she had family in the area and is looking to see it when, you know, she's just looking out over this rock and this man comes up on her and he is scary. Okay. This dude is scary and he's threatening and she's confident that he's going to kill her. And he keeps calling her by this name and she's like, that is not my name. I don't know who you think I am, but that is not my name. And this is, you know, really ridiculous. And if you want me to go, I'll go, but just go away. Leave me alone. And she gets away. And then in town, back where she worked, she didn't work in Manchester, Newcastle. She works in Newcastle, and at work she works in this little cafe. And at work, this gal points out that there's this woman that's been watching her for days. And she's aware of it, but she's not comfortable with it. And finally confronts this woman. And this woman has a proposition for her. She looks exactly like this man's granddaughter. And she and her brother want her to come and pretend to be this granddaughter while they try to get the will changed in her favor. And then, if it hasn't been, you know, it was, and now maybe not, you know, they're trying to ensure that the will is well taken care of and not going to someone outside of them. So the man that attacked her, this woman is the brother, and she's making this deal. It's very convoluted, but, you know, he's been working this farm for years and feels like he has earned it. He is family. It's not like he's not family. And so he thinks he should get this farm. So they're trying to ensure this happens. And then everything goes from there. Now, here are where big spoilers come. So if you don't want to know, if you're going to read the book, if you don't want to know, this is where you stop listening. You have a great day. I'll see you later. We'll talk stuff. It's going to be awesome. Have a good one. Okay. This book is told in first person. There's no way not to say it, but this really is her. She was pretending not to be herself when it really is herself. It just totally ruins the entire book because when it's in first person, you're in her head at all times. So she is playing mind games with herself. No, it didn't work. Up until, I mean, I felt like it should be her, but because it was in first person, I trusted the author enough to know, basic writing stuff that I just was like, yeah, no, it can't be her, but it should be her. That would be really cool. If, that she could convince him it wasn't her. That was really neat. And I was kind of like, yeah, this is kind of neat. But it can't be because it's first person and we would know this. But no. She is her own unreliable narrator on purpose. In her own head. Couldn't do it. I couldn't even give it 4 stars. I gave it 3. It should have been a 5-star book. If it had been told in third person, I absolutely, even in deep point of view for third person, I could have bought it. But being first person, I was so mad. I was so frustrated. And I was just like, yeah, no. It's too bad because it had the potential to be one of her best ones. So far, I still like Rose Cottage the best. I like the slight mystery / suspensiness combined with the homey, cozy feel of Stevenson in that one. But I am seeing some serious problems with most of them. But that's what's so neat about her writing is that I'm enjoying the books despite their flaws. I mean, to the point that I'm looking forward to the next one, even though they have flaws. I'm still looking forward to the next one. So there's that. But yeah, so that's what I've done. That's what I finished up in February. I read a lot of books in February, but then I've already done half of them. So there's that. I've already read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, 4 or 5 books here in March. I probably should have tacked that on, but I'm not. I'm just not. I need to go buy my son's birthday present that I didn't buy him the other day. And I think I should do that. And yeah, I'll see you hopefully on either Thursday or Friday. I don't know what I'm going to do. It should be one or the other, but I've got to make these decisions and figure this stuff out. Probably can't be Thursday this week because I have to go to Bakersfield on Wednesday. Oh well. Anyway, the dogs are barking. I'm going to say, have a great one. What you been reading? What do I need to know about? I'll see you later.